Do we reject evolution totally? No, we do accept the fact that the creation of mankind and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates in stages. No? But we don't believe it's through natural selection or through random mutation. We believe it's through the plan of Qudra and the Basira and the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No? So Allah Himself, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. We created man from a breed of clay. When we say breed of clay, that does not mean clay as we obviously understand it. What that denotes is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating mankind from an origin, from a source. Then Allah also says, وَقَدْ خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارًا. We've created you in gradual stages. And this is why the ulama, when they mention of the speak of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating the heavens and the earth, in 6 days, and they mention why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it in 6 days, 6 periods of time, when it could have been done all in one period of time. And the ulama mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to show and demonstrate to mankind the process of His creation. It takes place in stages for mankind themselves to take heed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things gradually and in stages, so that mankind themselves also work on this particular sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No? So it's Allah also says, الَّذِي أَحْسَنَ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ وَبَدَأَ خَلْقَ الْإِنسَانِ مِنْ طِينٍ. He who perfected all things and began the creation of mankind from clay. Then Allah says, ثُمَّ جَعَلَ نَسْلَهُ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ مَاءٍ مَهِينٍ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bred His offspring from a drop of despised fluid. ثُمَّ سَوَّاهُ وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِهِ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fashioned him and breathed into him His spirit. His spirit, مِنْ رُوحِهِ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمَ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. And He bestowed upon you hearing and sight and heart, but a few of you are grateful. Now note that Allah said ثُمَّ. And then again ثُمَّ. ثم as we know حرف العطف لكن ليس على الفور لكن بالتراخي. ثم has its meaning of and then. What period of time goes, that depends, that differs depending on the context of what's being said. So if somebody says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam in an instant, the sources say differently. And the Quranic ayahs say differently. So Allah appears from this when it says min tin, then ثُمَّ جَعَلَ نَسْلَهُ ثُمَّ سَوَّاهُ وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ. And then Allah says وَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ. Then Allah gave you hearing and sight. So this is the stages of Allah's creation. So if anybody turns out and says, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was created immediately, the sources say differently. Was there creation upon the earth before mankind and jinn? No. Was there creation upon the earth before mankind and jinn? This particular ayah, no, and its commentary, this is Surah Baqarah, ayah 30, and its commentary in Tafsir al-Jalalain, the two great Imams, Jalaluddin al-Mahalli and Jalaluddin al-Suyuti, rahimahullah, Allah mercy both of them. In their tafsir of this particular surah as well, worth having a look what they say. And they say, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the angels, indeed I am making upon this earth a Khalifa, a vicegerent, a person who will take command over the affairs of the earth. قَالُوا, who said? The angels replied, retorted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَتَجْعَلُ فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك دماء. They said, and do you make upon it yufsid, spoil, and yasfik, and shed dima, blood. The question that the scholar asks in this particular ayah is, how did the angels know of this? How did the angels know of this? The scholars go into a little bit of detail on this particular issue, and they say this ayah is a proof of the fact that there was creation upon earth other than mankind and jinn, because jinn do not bleed. Jinn do not bleed. So the fact mentioned here, يَسْفِقُ الدِّمَاء, doesn't apply to the jinn. Doesn't apply to the jinn. It must apply to another form of creation which was there present prior to mankind and prior to jinn, which as we know jinn came before men upon the earth. Okay, now what does this mean for us? This means that there's a creation prior to man and jinn, and that's where the knowledge of the angels come to them when they say أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِقُ الدِّمَاءِ. No? So the fact that the angels have said this knowledge came from where? From the existence of those other creatures, whoever they were, whatever it was, before mankind and jinn. Is that clear? Yes, there you go. Well, you might say, why has Allah mentioned this clearly in the Quran, and why were the dinosaurs not mentioned, and all the other forms of creation Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down upon this? Why have these things not been mentioned? The answer to this very clearly, as you know from your study of what did you do with the Quran is what? It's a book of guidance, a book of hidayah. It's not a book of science. There are scientific facts in there, yes. There are historical facts in there. There are miracles in there, yes. There are miraculous historical facts which nobody could have known except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, revelation through Allah. But it's not a book of science. It's not a book of science. Somebody asked Sheikh Bouti, the Quran, mashallah, it's a beautiful book. And this was an atheist who asked Sheikh Bouti, one of the scholars of Sham. He asked, why has the Quran not got a fahras, like an index? Why does it not have muhtawiyat, like a content and so forth? Or why is it ordered in this way? So Sheikh Bouti responded to this person. First of all, he said, look back to the period of when the Quran was revealed, the other limited prose and poetry was present at the time of the Jahiliyyah Arabs. Okay? Look at their writings and their contributions. What is the form of the writing? It has none of that. It has obviously contents and index and so forth. Because the Quran is meant to be read from beginning to end with a note of a transformative change taking place. It's not meant as a reference book. You're not going to look up, let's look at the Ahkam al-Salah in this section, read like that. That's when a person finishes the Quran, where did it go back to the beginning? Back to the beginning where it's a muflihun, meaning that we continue the Quran. There's a famous scholar called Shaykh Dr. Hijazi, who's written a book called Wahdatul Mawdu'iyyat al-Quran. The unity of the issue or of the topics of the Quran. And all the different topics of the Quran, when you connect all the topics, they return back to one, and that is basically guidance and huda. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hudan linnas, Allah called it what? Hudan, guidance for people, shifa' as-sudur, and cure for the hearts. Cure for the hearts. So this is what the Quran is, a book of guidance, not science, and that's why these other things have not been mentioned. Because what possible increase in our guidance would it be if we knew that people were before us? Because all instances of the prophets have been mentioned. We know that in the hadith, it mentioned 124,000 prophets, 313 Rusul, and that's the Hasan hadith. So we know this, but how many have been mentioned in the Quran? 25, yes? 25 mentioned in the Quran. What about the rest of the 200 and... Who's got maths? Anybody? 290 and something, yes? Okay. So what about the rest? The incidences of those 25 mentioned in the Quran are sufficient for us to gauge the guidance from it. It's not a book of history nor of science, and that's why many things were left out from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.